Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn with me, Julie Cameron, a business growth specialist with Action Coach Solihull. So for those that are joining us on LinkedIn and on Facebook this afternoon, then please do drop your comments below, and I will do my best to get back to you and say hi to me. It's nice to know that I'm not here by myself on this lunchtime. So today, what we're going to talk about? Well, today is a topic that I am discussing quite a lot with my clients at the moment. And it's something that I think resonates with all of us at this time of year, where we can feel a little overwhelmed after January because we're back into the swing of things. It's getting busier, and it's kind of a challenge that we all have at times, and that's time management. So I'm just going to share my screen so you can all see what I'm talking about. So here we go. Like I said, if you've got any questions or anything as the time goes on, then please do drop it in the chat boxes below, and I'll do my best to get back to you either today during this session or afterwards. I will look through all the comments. Okay, so today we're talking about time mastery, and as the chairman of Chrysler once said, if you can't be home for dinner with your family at 6 p.m. every night, then you're doing something wrong. Now, so I guess my question to you guys out there is, can you be at home with your family at 6 p.m. every evening? Or is it something that you struggle with from every day or a couple of days a week? Is it something that you want to do, that you want to be at home with your family? And I suppose it's that desire as well, that you want to be at home at 6 p.m. every night with your family. Okay, so my question to you is, how can we change to get more use of the time that we have available? And mainly because your job as a business owner is to create more money. And in a way, you should be spending your time in order to make that happen. And I think that that's one of the biggest aims that we have as a business owner, is to create money, to create that profit into our business, to create that cash. And we should be spending our time in order to make that happen, rather than doing things that are not going to make that happen. So what I always, again, sort of say to my clients is that the clock doesn't stop. There are 24 hours in a day. There are 60 minutes in an hour. We can't make it stop. We can't add, an extra couple of hours to the day. We can't add less time in the day. But what we can do is to master the use of the time and what we do with our time. So what we need to be is the master of ourselves and master what we do in order to create that. So as Stephen Covey once said, the way you spend your time is a result of the way that you see your time, and the way you really see your priorities. And that's what we're going to look at today, what we see out of our priorities and the way that we see our time. So I want you all to ask, and these are really good questions to kind of start with, what are your time goals? So in other words, what is your goal? What is your time goal? So how many hours a day are you actually wanting to work? And that's not saying the amount of time that you need to work or that you have to work. It's what do you want to work? So for me, my personal time goal is that I want to work in between school hours. I have a little boy, so I want to work between school hours, between 9:30 and 2:30 on a daily basis. So that's my personal goal. So what's your personal goal? How many hours do you want to be investing in your business? And that, by investing, I think the key word is there. So how many hours a week should you be working on your business rather than in it? Now, we at Action Coach always say that classic 5 hours a week working on your business and rather in it. But what's your goal? What's your time limit? What's your time frame that you have for your business on a weekly basis? So I'm just going to play a small video just now so you can hopefully hear it. And it's a really interesting concept. So I'll let it play.
Getting distracted by little things in life is easy. By starting your day with trivial activities, you will not have the time for the things that actually matter. Whether you are a businessman, mother of four, or a professional, anyone can lose focus of the things that are important in life and fill precious time with meaningless things. In the 80s, Stephen Covey taught the importance of prioritizing the important things in life, which will enable you to do more than you ever thought was possible. His concepts still apply to life today. Even if you think you know all of this already, the visualization metaphor really hits home. This demonstration from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People will change how you prioritize. If you lack focus and want to do more important things in your day, you have to check out this life-changing video. Though there's never enough time to do everything, there's always enough time to do getting to.
So an interesting concept, actually. So I think a lot of us out there always look at the things that we can achieve in the next 5 minutes, we can achieve in the next 10 minutes, and actually get rid of them off our list. And then what we find is that the big jobs, the big things, the big rocks, we live till the end of the day, and that's when we find we don't have enough time to complete them. Whereas, if we started with those tasks, if we started doing them, at the beginning of the day, and they took maybe a little bit of time, but we got them done, then at the end of the day, we can fill our time up with the small tasks, with those like grains of sand. And I think it's recognizing and looking at the big tasks that we do on a daily basis. And this is where these first steps kind of come into it. And the first step that where management of yourself, self-mastery kind of comes into it, is over the next 2 weeks, I want you to keep a diary of what you do every 15 minutes. This will highlight those rocks, those big rocks, those medium rocks, and those grains of sand that you're doing on a daily basis. Okay. But just by doing that, just by doing and keeping that diary for what you do every 15 minutes, you become more productive, because all of a sudden you become more aware of what you actually are doing. We'll then look at your list. After that 2 weeks, look at your list. What are your top 5 time wasters? And that could be a person or it could be an activity. And what we need to do is you need to look at that list and work a way of getting them off your list. And that could be by systemization, by delegation, or by training somebody to do that for you. And I think that that's key. It's like at the end of the day, your time's worth something. And if you're doing these top 5 time wasters, then you're not spending your time on those big rocks that are going to generate that money for you. And again, it goes back to that same what I said at the beginning. Your job as a business owner is to create and generate money. And that's what we're in the business for. So your second step, look at that list and you identify what are the most important tasks for you to do as the business owner. What are those money-making jobs that you do on a daily basis? So look at your routine tasks. What are you doing every day, every hour, and make that list. Okay. And you have to think of, do your tasks, do the tasks you do generate new customers or clients? Do they retain an existing client or a customer effectively? Are they meeting a requirement for compliance? Because again, that is something that's so important for yourselves. Do they help you in some way to genuinely tangible profit increasing way? Are they increasing the profit that's coming into your business? And what you have to realize is if the answer is not yes to any or all of those points, then it's probably not in a rock category. So therefore it's a grain of sand. Therefore, is it one of your top 5 time wasters? And is it something that you can systemize, delegate or train somebody else to do? I also want you to look at those jobs and think about the minimum wage job. So some of those tasks on there, and I always take social media as something that there are many experts out there that do social media very, very well. Okay. And but something that takes them maybe 10 minutes to do, you as a business owner could take 1 to 2 hours. And I'm just as guilty. Okay, so look at these tasks, and what you have to think of, if you spent that 2 hours, if somebody was to give you that gift of 2 hours back that potentially you're spending on social media, then how many clients could you potentially sign? How many things could you potentially sell? And therefore your time is worth more than spending time doing social media. So although there is a cost element, of outsourcing that, then what you have to think about is actually if that cost of outsourcing is a great deal less than the potential of the revenue that you can make. Okay. And that's what you need to kind of open your mind and open your mindset to. So actually it could be the case of payroll. If you've got a team and payroll is something that you do, by outsourcing it, you're gaining time back. And so therefore you could potentially be making 2 more deals that can bring in thousands, instead of paying somebody hundreds to do the actual task for you. Something to think about. Once we've got those priority tasks, what we look at is, in our case, is what we call a default diary. So look at your priority tasks and put them in your diary. Make sure that you allocate time to do those on a daily basis, because you are doing them on a daily basis. So block it out in your diary so that you know that you get that done. But always leave a reactive time. So in other words, for your time, if you're working 8 hours a day, then always leave 1 hour a day reactive, because something always crops up, always happens, and we always need to react to it. So therefore you've got your proactive time, as in you're putting your tasks into your diary to block out that time to do, and then you leave an element of reactive time. Now it could be 1 hour a day, it could be 2 hours a day, depending on what you feel is necessary. So in other words, the key to this is discipline and following that diary. Okay, it's discipline for yourself and it's discipline in the do. Okay, and I've put on there, set reminders to change tasks. We've all got phones, we've all got alarm clocks in some way, shape, or form. So if you said, right, okay, I've just allocated, half an hour to spend on LinkedIn. Okay, for example, so put a reminder on your phone for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it goes off. You come off. And it's setting that reminder, so therefore we don't get distracted and we don't get kind of caught up in the things that because it's very tempting on any social media platform to carry on scrolling. So therefore if we set reminders to come off, then it'll stop us doing that scroll. Now, another great top tip is a daily list. So before you leave for the day, write your list or your must achieve list for the next day, or your to-do list. Now, the reason that we do it the day before is that your brain starts to process the task. It starts to think about it starts to process it, it starts to engage with it. So therefore, when you're coming in the next day to work, you're halfway there and you can just crack on with the task in hand rather than having to start to think about it. Okay. We always say to handwrite that task list as well. And the reason why is because the brain engages differently with it. It becomes more ownership because you're actually writing it. So, but with you actually writing it, you're owning that task, so therefore you engage with it differently. Another thing with that daily list is add a time frame for each task, and this should be less than 1 hour for each task. Now, the reason that I say that is because if it's more than an hour, then it's too big a task and it needs to be broken down into smaller chunks. Okay, because that means that you'll get it done. But nobody wants to look at a to-do list and go, right, okay, I've got 3 hours to do that. Well, 3 hours to me sounds like a really long time, so therefore I won't engage for the first hour and a half, and it'll be a rush job at the end. So therefore, what am I doing for that first hour and a half? You know, so think about it for yourselves. Think about the tasks that you do on a daily basis. You know, add a time frame. You know, are they less than an hour, or can it be broken down further? You know, as I said, 7 or 8 hours plan time. This is obviously if you work, you know, an 8-hour, 9-hour day, you know, plan your day, plan 7 or 8 hours of that day. Okay, leave 1 hour reactive. So you're becoming proactive rather than a fully reactive person, you know. And things like this always happen. Reactiveness, we always get that email in, we always get that phone call, we always get that thing that we hadn't really expected in our day. We can't plan it all 100%. So therefore, accepting that and making sure that you've got some reactive time in your diary is key. Okay. Making the list before you leave. Now, I'm sure some of you go, well, why would you make the list the night before? You know, you might add things on it the next day. Completely. But what it does, it clears your head. And by writing it all down, you become more present when you get home. You're not thinking so much about work because you've written it all down. You know, you're not thinking about what you've got to do the next day because your brain's already starting to process it. So you can be more present with your family and being at home, which fundamentally is one of the reasons why we all go into business for ourselves. It's because we want a better work-life balance. And this is one of those reasons, one of those ways that we can achieve it. So that's me today for our lunch and learn. I'll just stop sharing my screen here. There we go, back to me. So I hope that's given you some tips and hints about managing our time better. And again, I think it's key to remember it's not about managing your time, it's about managing yourself and the discipline that you have to have when it comes to sticking to your list, sticking to your default diary, and managing what you do and how you spend your time. Because fundamentally, don't forget, your main aim in business is to create that money. We all want to make that money. Therefore, are you spending your time doing that? Or are you spending the time emptying the bin, you know, doing social media, doing payroll, doing your accounts, doing those jobs that potentially could be outsourced to make and enable you to spend your time making more money? So any comments, queries, guys, pop them in the comment chats in the chat boxes below, and I will do my best to get back to you later on today. But that's me, Julie Cameron. I am a business growth specialist with Action Coach Solly Hull, and I hope you've enjoyed today's session. And please join me again next week, where we will be talking all about communication. So looking forward to it then. Take care. Bye.